He sat alone at the restaurant, staring at the empty chair across from him. The candle flickered between untouched plates, reflecting in his tired eyes. People whispered, some pitying, others pretending not to notice. But Daniel Brooks didn't care. He had waited 3 years to feel normal again, to laugh, to share a meal, to maybe believe in love once more. Then, just as he reached for the bill, a little girl from a nearby table slipped away from her mother, walked up to him, and whispered something that would change everything. "Sir, my mommy says angels sit alone so they can see who still believes in love." And at that moment, the world stopped for Daniel. Daniel Brooks, 36, was a man shaped by quiet grief. Once a warm, outgoing husband and proud father, he now moved through life like a ghost of his former self. His days began before dawn, packing his daughter Emma's lunch, tying her pink shoes, whispering the same words each morning. "Mommy would be proud of us." After dropping her at school, he'd head to his mechanic shop, sleeves rolled, grease-stained hands fixing what others broke. But he couldn't fix himself. Not since the accident that took his wife, Claire. Tonight was supposed to be a step forward. His friend had convinced him to try a blind date, saying, "You've given your daughter enough love. Maybe it's time someone gives some back to you." But as the minutes passed, hope dimmed. The server refilled his glass with quiet sympathy. Laughter from couples around him only deepened the ache. He thought about leaving, about how foolish he must look, a man trying to remember how to belong. Then, that little girl's words cut through his loneliness like sunlight through clouds. "Before we continue with this incredible journey, I spent countless hours crafting this story to bring you something meaningful. If stories like this touch your heart and remind you that kindness still exists, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. It truly helps this channel reach others who need these reminders of hope." Now, let's see what happens next. Have you ever witnessed an act of kindness that completely changed your perspective? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to read it. Daniel looked up in surprise. The little girl's eyes sparkled, innocent yet oddly knowing. Before he could respond, a woman hurried over, cheeks flushed with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry," she said softly, placing a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Lily sometimes says things she shouldn't." Daniel smiled faintly. "It's okay," he replied. "Sometimes kids see the world clearer than we do." The woman hesitated, noticing the single plate, the untouched wine, the empty chair. "Rough night?" she asked quietly. He chuckled bitterly. "You could say that. My date didn't show." She frowned, then offered a warm smile. "Her loss." Something about her voice, calm, kind, real, eased the tension that had wrapped around him all evening. Her name was Rachel, a nurse, widowed too, raising her daughter on her own. She'd come in for a quick dinner after a long shift, but the universe clearly had other plans. Lily, now perched beside Daniel, swung her legs and grinned. "You can sit with us if you want. Mommy says nobody should eat alone." Rachel's eyes widened. "Lily," but Daniel interrupted with a small laugh. "Actually, I'd like that." And so he joined them. What started as an awkward invitation soon turned into laughter over pasta and stories of parenthood. Daniel found himself smiling for real, not the forced kind he used to hide behind, but something genuine. When the waiter passed by, Rachel leaned closer and whispered, "You looked like you needed company." "We all do sometimes." For the first time in years, Daniel didn't feel invisible. He didn't feel broken. He felt seen. As the night ended, Rachel handed him a napkin with her number scribbled in blue ink. "For Emma," she said with a smile. "Maybe the kids can have a play date." But both of them knew it wasn't just for the kids. Connection through kindness. Two hearts who had known loss found each other not through romance, but through shared compassion and a child's innocent wisdom. In the weeks that followed, Daniel and Rachel's lives began to intertwine in the simplest of ways. What started as a play date for the kids turned into long afternoons at the park, coffee after school drop-offs, and late-night calls where laughter replaced the silence that used to fill their homes. Emma and Lily became inseparable, two giggling whirlwinds of innocence. Their friendship pulled Daniel and Rachel closer, piece by piece, like two broken halves learning how to fit again. One chilly evening, Rachel invited Daniel and Emma to her home for dinner. The warmth of her small kitchen, the smell of garlic bread, the soft hum of music, it felt like family. But beneath the laughter, fear lingered. Daniel still carried the weight of his late wife's memory. Her picture still sat on his nightstand. Her voice still echoed in Emma's bedtime stories. Opening his heart again felt like betrayal. Rachel, too, had scars of her own. Her husband, a soldier, had died overseas. She had promised herself never to love someone whose life could leave her shattered again. As they washed dishes together, Rachel broke the silence. "Daniel, do you ever feel like you're scared to be happy again?" He looked at her, the way her eyes glistened under the kitchen light, strong yet so fragile. "Every day," he admitted. "But then I think maybe happiness isn't about forgetting the past. Maybe it's about finding someone who helps you live with it." That moment hung between them, tender and terrifying. Just as something new began to bloom, life struck again. Rachel's hospital faced budget cuts, and she was reassigned to the night shift, longer hours, less time for Lily, and barely any time for Daniel. Their calls grew shorter. Missed dinners turned into quiet disappointment, and one night, after another canceled plan, Daniel stared at his phone, wondering if the universe was playing a cruel joke, giving him a glimpse of happiness only to take it back again. Love begins to heal, but old wounds and new challenges threaten to pull them apart. The story balances hope with fear, showing how even the kindest hearts can hesitate to trust again. Weeks turned into months, and the distance between Daniel and Rachel grew heavier with every unanswered text. He told himself it was fine, that maybe they were never meant to last. But Emma noticed. "Daddy," she said one night, sitting on his lap, "Miss Rachel makes you smile. Why don't you see her anymore?" Her innocent words pierced deeper than she knew. That night, Daniel sat at the kitchen table and made a decision. Love was worth fighting for, even if it scared him. That he drove to the hospital the next evening, carrying a thermos of Rachel's favorite hazelnut coffee. The sight that met him broke and inspired him all at once. Rachel, exhausted, tending to an elderly patient. Her eyes tired but kind, her movements careful and full of grace. He waited until her shift ended. "Daniel," she said, startled but smiling, "what are you doing here?" "Bringing you something warm," he replied, handing her the coffee. "And maybe trying to remind you what warm feels like." She laughed softly, the first genuine laugh in weeks, and before she could speak, he added, "Rachel, I've been running from happiness because I thought I didn't deserve it anymore. But Emma was right, you make me smile. And I think I want to keep smiling." Rachel's eyes welled with tears. "I'm scared too," she whispered. "But maybe we don't have to be scared together." That night didn't end with fireworks or grand gestures. Just two tired souls walking to the parking lot, hands brushing, hearts healing. Months later, their small group, Daniel, Rachel, Emma, and Lily, became inseparable. Laughter returned to both homes. Family dinners, school recitals, bedtime stories, all stitched together by second chances. And one evening, as they walked past that same Italian restaurant where it all began, Emma tugged Daniel's sleeve again and whispered, "Daddy, can we sit there? Maybe love will find someone else tonight too." Daniel smiled, the kind that comes from peace. Sometimes, kindness isn't about what you give. It's about who you let in. Healing through love, overcoming fear, and finding family again. This is the emotional climax. The story comes full circle, returning to the restaurant where heartbreak turned into hope. 2 years later, the little Italian restaurant buzzed with quiet chatter and the soft glow of candles. At a corner table sat a familiar family: Daniel, Rachel, Emma, and Lily were celebrating something special. Rachel reached across the table, her engagement ring catching the light. "I can't believe it's been 2 years since you sat here alone," she said softly. Daniel smiled, his eyes warm. "And since a little girl changed everything with just a whisper." Emma, now 8, giggled as she and Lily shared a slice of chocolate cake. "Daddy," Emma said, "remember what I told you that night?" "How could I forget?" he replied. "You told me Mommy sent you to remind me I still had love left to give." Rachel squeezed his hand. "She must have known I needed you." 2. The camera of life zooms out, for hearts intertwined. Living proof that broken people can become whole again when kindness steps in. A few months later, Daniel started volunteering at a community center, mentoring single parents trying to rebuild after loss. Rachel organized health drives for widowed mothers. Together, they turned their pain into purpose, not just surviving, but serving. And one day, as Daniel packed food boxes for struggling families, a man approached him with tears in his eyes. "Hey, you don't remember me, But I was in that restaurant the night your date never showed. I watched your daughter walk up to you and whisper something. It was beautiful. Daniel smiled. It really was. That night taught me something I'll never forget. Love doesn't always arrive when you plan it. Sometimes, it finds you when your heart is ready. The man nodded, inspired. Thanks for reminding me there's still good in this world. Daniel looked at the group of volunteers around him. People helping people, hearts healing hearts, and felt that familiar warmth again. This story reminds us that kindness has a ripple effect. One whisper, one smile, one moment of courage can change not just one life, but many. So if you've ever been hurt, lonely, or lost, remember, the heart heals fastest when it helps someone else. Stories like this remind us that extraordinary kindness still exists all around us. If this story touched your heart, please like this video. It helps others find hope, too. Subscribe for more real-life stories that restore faith in humanity. And tell me in the comments what's one small act of kindness you'll do this week. You never know whose life it might change. Thank you for watching, and remember, love always finds a way, especially when we lead with kindness.